Hello and welcome to this pre-recorded on-demand session. This session is entitled Assessments for Littles, and I am so excited that you've decided to join me on today. It is my hope that you have a second device nearby that you could use and kind of engage in this session. Although it is pre-recorded and on-demand, I want you to get the full experience if at all possible. However, if you don't have a second device nearby, do not fret. You could come back at any time to watch this pre-recorded session and get that full immersive experience by participating. Or you could simply just watch and listen, view from my screen, and still learn some great tools and resources that we could use when working with our young students. Before we continue, I do want you to know that you could access today's presentation by inserting the link that you see on the screen into your browser. If you take a snapshot of this link or jot it down, you will always be able to come back and access this presentation even after the recordings are no longer available. So that means that at the end of AETC, if you want to come back and view the slides from today's presentation, you could always do that by going to the bit.ly link that you see on the screen. It is bit.ly, bit.ly /A, the number 4, capital L, lowercase ITTLES. Once again, that is bit.ly /A4 littles, okay? bit.ly /A4 littles. And we're just going to jump right in. As you can probably tell, I'm so excited about today. I'm hoping that you're able to leave this session better equipped to kind of get a better understanding of what exactly our students know. We want to be able to grasp a great understanding of our student knowledge, and sometimes that's hard to do when working with small children. So today we're going to focus specifically on assessments for our younger students, those students primarily in K2. But I always say with anything that I present, it is I like to use the word flexible, meaning that you could take it and tweak it to use it in your setting. So if I share something today that you think may be too premature for your students, by all means think of ways that you can tweak it to fit the educational environment in which you service the students, okay? My name is Courtney Hamilton. I am with Alabama Technology in Motion. As we go throughout the presentation, if you have an aha moment or oh my goodness moment, feel free to tag me on Twitter and put it out there. We know as educators, we learn best from one another. And so your aha moment could be transformation for another educator in the Twitter universe and atmosphere. So feel free to tag me as you do that at Winning Educator. As previously stated, I am with Alabama Technology in Motion. Hopefully you are familiar with our organization. If not, no worries. We are a state-funded initiative that provides free job-embedded professional development for K-12 educators throughout the state. I am stationed at Region 12, which is located on the campus of Athens State University, and I service teachers in that region in the northern Alabama area. As you can see, I have some colleagues on the screen. We're stationed all throughout the state. If you do not know your ATEM specialist, I highly encourage you to reach out to him or her and tap into some of the services and resources that we provide. As I stated, it is completely free. And those services could include, but are not limited to, one-on-one mentoring, also doing some modeling with your students. If there's a tech tool that you would like to try, we definitely can model or co-teach that with you. Additionally, we provide professional development for small group settings such as PLCs, PLGs, as well as maybe just your local staff at your school, in your school building, all the way up to those district meetings in which you need technology PD. We are here for you, ready and willing to serve. Our website is located on the screen in addition to our Twitter page. If you've accessed the presentation from the link at the top, you will notice that the links here on the screen are live clickable links. So if you click either of those, it will take you directly to the page. Now that I've gone through and done some of the preliminary things and covered some of the formalities, it's time for us to jump right into our session. And so we are looking at assessments for littles. But before I do anything, I like for us to have a great understanding of what it is exactly we are setting out to accomplish. What are our learning goals for today, and what are our objectives? So the main thing that you can ask yourself is basically, why are we here? And when I say, why are we here? Why did you click this presentation? What about that title drew you to the presentation? And what can you hope to gain as a result of you listening in on today? So the first thing is that we're going to explore. We're going to explore it. I know I mentioned earlier wanting you to have a second device because I want you to be able to explore as a student. It's one thing to come in and learn about various technology tools and resources from a teacher perspective, but you can remove a lot of the frustrations that come with the integration of technology when you have a full understanding of the student perspective, okay? So we want to explore from a student perspective, and we want to engage in some assessments as they are presented. In addition to exploring, we want to define what exactly are assessments, and not only what are assessments, but why are they important? And I guess I just kind of made an assumption that they are, but a deeper question is, are they important, and why or why not? But for the sake of time today, we're simply exploring what or defining what are assessments and why are they important. The third thing that we're going to do is we're going to identify. So after we've gone through and defined what assessments are, and we have a good grasp of why they are important, we then want to identify some tools that we could use in implementing assessments for our young students. So we want to learn about a few assessment tools appropriate for young learners. I'm going to throw a number of tools out today. Do not try to use all of them. Find the one or two tools that you feel would benefit not only you, but your students as well. Okay, think about the students that you serve and what will be best for them as well as you. Okay, we don't have to try to do all of it. Find one or two things that work and perfect those things. All right. So after we explore, define, and identify, we then want to commit. At the end of the session, one of our goals is to commit from this presentation, from the tools that are shared. What is at least one thing that you're willing to try and implement in the upcoming school year with your babies? What is the one thing that you can commit to as a result of having sat through this particular session? All right. So if you're on board, we're going to continue going. If we were face to face, I would say give me a thumbs up. Or if we were in Zoom, I would say give me a green check. But we are on demand. And so at this point, I'm hoping that you're still on board with me, and we're going to keep this thing rolling. So what are assessments? We're going through and we're defining what are assessments. When you think about assessments, you typically put them into two different categories. There's the formative category and the summative category, okay? We're looking at summative assessments as well as formative assessments. So when you think about summative assessments, you're thinking about those things that are more formal and structured in nature, okay? Summative assessments typically include the evaluation or the sum, which is the root word of summative, or the sum product of the lesson. So after you've gone through a unit, after you've completed a theme, then you give the students some type of assessment to see what did they really grasp from the time that you spent over those couple of days or even couple of weeks, okay? So those are summative assessments that take place at the end of a structured content that has been taught. Then you think about formative assessments. Formative assessments are those assessments that take place kind of organically or naturally on the spot. They're ongoing. They're flexible and less formal because it's diagnostics that you're doing on the spot as you're going through watching your students. So it could just be a quick check. Write down 3 things that you learned from today's lesson. Or it could be if you understand everything, give me a thumbs up. If you have some questions, give me a thumbs in the middle. If you're completely lost, give me a thumbs down. Formative assessment, quick checks. And the feedback that you get from the formative assessment should shift the instruction that takes place immediately after. If you do a quick thumbs check, up, got it, middle, don't have it, or thumbs down, I'm completely lost, and the majority of your students give you a thumbs down, do not continue with the next part. Go back and review. That's the whole reason of conducting some type of formative assessment, okay? So we know that assessments fall into 2 categories, formative and summative. So let's look at this formative assessment, okay? And this falls under identify and explore. So something that you could do, and it says virtual, but we know that our students are now making their way back into a face-to-face learning environment. So this is something that can be done whether you're teaching face-to-face with your students and or if you're working with them virtually. There are no limits to this particular activity. So the first thing that you want to do, you may want to display content or a point of reference for your students. So for our young students, we may want to show them a picture. And I have on the screen an example. You show them the letter P. If you all are studying the letter P for the week, show them the letter P. All right. Now, after you've shown them that letter, explain to them, number 2, that they are to search their house if they're at home, or the classroom if they're in school, for an item that is reflective of the displayed content. So if I show you the letter P, I need you to find 2 items in your home, or I need you to locate 2 items in our classroom that start with the letter P. Okay. You may have to tweak it a little bit. It may be 1 item. It may be point to an item. It could be that ends with the letter P. Okay. So think about what you're teaching and how you could make that applicable to your students. If you're teaching math and you're doing shapes, show a picture of a triangle. Find me something in this classroom that is reflective of that shape that has 3 points. Okay. So there are a lot of ways that you could tweak this to fit various content areas. Now, I do say that you have to set some parameters. And so one of the things that I always encourage teachers to do, not just for the sake of scavenger hunt, but anytime you give students self-paced assignments or assessments, display a timer on the screen so that they are aware of the time limit that has been given to them. Understanding that some students may finish way before, others may need additional time, that's okay. But that allows the student to kind of manage their time in their assignment and respond accordingly. So I would just say grab you a timer from YouTube. You can embed that into your Google Slides, such as what you see on the screen, and allow them to go on their scavenger hunt. Okay. They need to be on the lookout for the ending of that timer, whether it's a bell ringing, a buzzer, a siren, whatever it may be. But when that time limit is up, have everyone to come back to their seats, have everyone to come back to their screen, and give them the opportunity to share their item and why they selected it for the picture that you displayed. Okay. So I'm just going to click here so that you see the timer just counts down. And then when it gets to the very end, if my sound were on, then it would make like a ringing noise. Okay. So that's something that you would display on the screen as your students are doing their scavenger hunt. Now, of course, this may be appropriate for our young babies who are just going through and learning their letters, letter recognition, letter sounds, things of that nature. But when we get to some of our older elementary students, we may want to take it up a notch. Instead of saying, bring me something that starts with the letter P, you may give them their vocabulary word. Display that on the screen, jovial. And you would follow those same steps. Display the word jovial. Have them to search in their homes or the classroom for an item that is reflective of the word that you've displayed on the screen. And when they come back, after that timer has been set, when they come back, have them to share why did they pick that item as representation for the word on the screen. So there are a number of ways that you can do this. If we were face to face, I would actually have you to do it. So you have been spared today, but know that this is something that students of all ages enjoy. And one of the things that they love the most is the opportunity to share. So if you're going to do this, you definitely want to carve out time so that students are able to share, okay? Don't just have them do it and move on, but give them the opportunity to explain that. And then that also kind of drives home the definition, because they've actually talked about it. And then when it's time for their summative assessment and you show the word jovial, they remember, oh, I remember picking up the smiley face magnet off of the refrigerator because that reminded me of the word jovial. Okay, so they're able to connect those dots in other areas. Let's keep it moving. Another way that you can formatively assess your students is to do a Google Jamboard. And if you've not tried Google Jamboard, I highly encourage you to just go out there and play around with it. I do have a presentation specifically on Jamboard that I don't mind sharing with you. If you are interested, send me an email. My email will be at the very end of this presentation, my email address. So if you're interested in getting a Google Jamboard presentation that you could just go through and learn about Jamboard on your own, I definitely don't mind sharing that with you. But what I would encourage you to do is to have students access a Jamboard that you would have already created. So the first step is that you have to create this yourself, okay? After you've created it and the students now have access to it, you want to demonstrate and or instruct them to click on the arrow until they are viewing the board, and they're a blank board, and they're able to write their name on that blank board. Now, what you will notice in Google Jamboard is that you can only have 20 boards at a time. So if you have more than 20 students, then you need to either create multiple Jamboards or put them in groups, okay? And have group 1 work on board 1, group 2 work on board 2, and so forth. So it's completely up to you. And I guess it goes back to what exactly are you looking for? If you need it to be individual, then you want to create enough so that each student has one. But if you're okay with them working in groups, by all means, go ahead and do that. So have them to write, type, and or add an image according to your directions, and then you can view it as they're doing it in live time and provide feedback upon completion. Not only can you view it, but all of the other students can view it as well. So it becomes a collaborative assessment, if you will, and that students are able to learn from one another, but you can go in, engage, and provide immediate feedback, which we know our students tremendously benefit from, that immediate feedback. So let's look here. Once again, I have a timer. So if you were to do this task, I would encourage you to place a timer on the screen. Now, your students may need more than 2 minutes, depending on what your instructions are for them, but there is a timer there, and I would encourage you to do the same. This is just an example. I'm going to click and open for you. This was done by some students in a previous session, or actually, this is a blank one, so this is awesome. What your students would do, as you notice here in the center of the screen, we can open and extend our frame bar. And I'm able to go in and I can see the various boards by clicking on them. The arrows to the left and right help me to shuffle through the slides a little bit quicker. But what you would have your students to do, let's say that my number in my class is number 6, I would come to the number 6 frame, and I'm now on number 6. Here, I can double click, and the first thing you want them to do is type their name. If you need a way to identify who they are, type their name. Or if we're working in groups, you may have them to come and put group 6, okay? It's completely up to you. Now, once you get on the Jamboard, okay, the students are able to use the tools over to the left to put items on their board. So for instance, if you're asking the students to draw a picture of the shape that we learned about today, they could come here, they could grab their pen and simply draw a picture of the shape that was learned. Now, this can be done on an iPad, a tablet, a Chromebook, computer, whatever it is that you have. Jamboard is accessible on any of the tools, okay? If our students are a little bit more advanced, then they could type by simply selecting the text box here and putting it there, and they could type their answer depending on the question that you ask. They also could do sticky notes, okay? So if I decided that I want a sticky note, I can pick a color and type on the sticky note and save it, and then it appears on my screen. I can drag it, and I can also extend or expand or minimize that particular sticky note. Now, the reason that I say this can be done as a group is because if this were our group Jamboard, then multiple people could come and put their sticky note. And then instead of just saying group, then I would type my name here so that you know this is my response. Okay, then I could do another sticky note. And this one may be from Lucy, and she's going to type her response. Okay, so think about questions that you would ask young students and their capabilities in using a tool like this. If your students are not efficient in typing, then don't have them to type. Allow them to write their responses. Someone did just simple math. You know, they had a problem and they wanted their students to show the problem on the board that the teacher displayed may have been 2 plus 2. Well, the students just simply had to come and do 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And the only thing that they had to type on here may have been the final answer 4. So your younger students, if given something like this, may be able to just come and do that. It doesn't require that they type a whole lot, okay? If they just draw their shapes or their objects and then type in the number, they could do that. And the last thing is that, of course, they could add an image if they have Google Images, or they could do a search, but that is completely up to you. And added, just a little throwing this out there, our young students may not be interested or even able to do that necessarily or need to do that, but you can change the background, very limited, but you can change the background of your Jamboard and even upload a picture if you would like. This is Google Jamboard. And once you create your Google Jamboard, remember that was one of our first directions, is that you have to create yours. You could come over here, or you will need to come over here to share it. And once you share it, you'll either add it to your Google Classroom, get the link that way, or you could just change it to anyone with the link can. And you want to make sure that you allow for editing, because the only way they will be able to write and type on the Jamboard is if they have editing rights. Okay, so you would give that link to students and allow them to edit your Jamboard. All right, now let's look at some summative assessments, and we're going to identify and explore Google Forms as a way to summatively assess our students. So one of the things that you could do is to add the talk and comment extension in Google Chrome, okay? So you would need to go to the Chrome store and add this particular extension. And what you'll notice is that I have gone in. If you have access to this presentation, which you can do by going to the link at the very top right of the screen, but once you are inside of this presentation, you can click here and it will take you to the Chrome Web Store directly for you to add this. Now, I already have it in Google Chrome, so I don't have the option to add it, but you, if you don't have it, you could add it, okay? And so what that would allow you to do, it allows you to type all of your questions and answers in the editing mode inside of Google Forms. And then after you've done that, you could go into that same Google Forms as you're editing it and add your voice using talk and comment. Okay, so that allows you to be able to talk directly to your students. Why would this be a game changer for our students? Well, if they can't read because they're so young and they may not necessarily fully be there, if they can't read, they could click and listen to you reading the question to them. And their answer choices could very well be pictures. So they're able to go in and select a picture as opposed to having to read. The other game changer for this is that you can add your voice to the answer choices so that they're able to click and listen and hear the answer choices as well. Okay, so don't just count out Google Forms for our young babies, because this extension has made it to where the children can hear your voice and still complete the Google form. All right. So I have in this presentation some links. Once again, they're clickable. How do you copy Google Forms once you've created them? Or let's say you found a Google form from an educator friend out there that you want to use with your students. Well, this particular link will take you to directions on how to copy a Google form. This particular link takes you to a resource that shows you how to automatically have the Google Forms graded as students turn them in, so that you don't have to go through and sit and look at every single submission, but you can have it automatically graded as it's submitted. And the last one is just some practical ways to use Google Forms with your young students. Okay. The next summative tool that we're going to look at is Pear Deck. Okay, Pear Deck is a game changer. Pear Deck is one of those tools that has the premium version and the free version. You can sign up as an educator and get a free trial to see if you're interested. I will say that once your trial has expired, you have the option to extend the trial even more. And they let you do that quite a number of times before finally saying, okay, you need to buy it. But there are some things that you can do with the free version that are just as beneficial for you and the students. You don't have to get the paid version, but I do encourage you, if you're going to try it out, go ahead and try out the premium version using the trial. It's definitely worth getting that free trial. And after that, if you want to stay with the free version, by all means do so. So what we're going to do, we're going to explore Pear Deck. We're going to explore Pear Deck on your device, on the device that you have, the second device. I want you to get that out. And I want you to open your web browser, whether it's Chrome or Safari, whatever you're on, open up the internet and go to join, JOIN, PD, like Pear Deck, PD, joinpd.com. Okay. You're going to joinpd.com. And when you get there, you should see something that looks like this on my screen. Oh, let me stop it. Hold on. Okay, you should see something that looks like this. When you type in joinpd.com, you would see something that looks like this. All right, this is the website that your students would go to in order to play with Pear Deck. Okay, joinpd.com. Now, I am going to, as the teacher, open this presentation. This is just a sample presentation that I have, okay? Just a sample presentation that I have on Pear Deck and how you could use it. Now, from the teacher perspective, once I've created my slides, if you look over to the left, these are slides that will be used. And this is it was strictly built inside of Google Slides. So you create your questions, your assignments inside of Google Slides. Then after that, you're going to launch the Pear Deck add-on. Okay. So before I do that, I want to go to my presentation and show you that right here, this link here will take you to the G Suite store, where you're able to directly go in and install the Pear Deck add-on. You do have to install it inside of Google Chrome before you can use it, okay? So I gave you the direct link to be able to go in and do that. But once you've done that and you have your slides ready to go, you know exactly what you want to ask your students, then you're going to come to add-ons, Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, and you want to open the add-on, okay? So it's opening my add-on. You see now that the Pear Deck add-on is open to the right of my screen, and I'm going to click Start Lesson. Now, there are two ways to launch a lesson. The first way is to do it student pace. So that means that you're able to go through and work at this on your own time. You could work as long as you want until I close it down. The other is instructor pace. And that means that all students are looking at the same slide at the same time. They can't go forward, they can't go back unless I, as the instructor, allow them to do that. When I'm doing this demonstration in person, I typically do the instructor pace, but for the sake of our on-demand presentation and those of you who are joining us, I'm going to do the student pace activity. So on your second device, you should be on the website joinpd.com, and it should be asking you, it looks like this, and it's asking you to enter a code, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and launch this as a student pace activity. And the code that it is asking me for, let's see. I'm going to say, got it. Okay, so my lesson has launched and my code is in the very top of my screen. The code is HMQNTJ. And let me say this, I'm going to allow this to run as long as it will. By the time you see this on-demand presentation, you may or may not be able to actually join in and pay and actually play with it. But I do want you to just kind of have some insight on what it looks like from a student perspective, okay? So the code is at the top right, and it's HMQNTJ. So let's look at this twofold, because we said that we wanted to explore as a student, and just in case this is turned off by the time you're able to view it, I want you to see what it looks like from the teacher perspective. I'm sorry, from the student perspective. So over here, I inserted my code HMQNTJ, and now I am seeing the presentation as a student, okay? As a student, I'm able to go in, and I'm going to click for the next slide. And it's asking me to fill in the missing letter. Okay, fill in the missing letter. So I have a picture here. There's that. Now, as a student, I could write on my screen. You could even change the color, because you know they may like doing that. Or I could type it. Okay. So there are a number of different options that our students could use. Of course, whatever works for them is what we would want to encourage. And so from the teacher perspective, if I go back to this particular tab from the teacher perspective, I could see that I have one student currently enrolled. Okay, and that one student is right here on this slide. Now, if there were multiple students taking this assessment at the same time, then I would see little heads all over the various slides as they're going through working their way. If you were doing this in an instructor-led mode, then all of your students would be on the same slide at the same time, and they would not be able to advance or go back until you as an instructor allowed them to do so, okay? So this is one way, filling in the blanks, okay? We could have our students fill in the blanks with Pear Deck and use various tools to record their responses. Another way that we could use it is just showing them some options. Circle all the items that start with the letter B. So once again, they could come in and get their little pencil. You can change the size of your pencil as well and go in and circle the items that start with the letter B. Okay? So I think this is definitely something that our students could do. They're young, but they're still able to go in and complete the assessment through Pear Deck. It's appealing to them, attractive to their young eyes, but then it is something that they can actually easily navigate on their own, okay? Another, listen to the story and draw a picture of the setting. So they're able to go in and use that drawing tool, draw a picture of the setting, okay? Another thing that you can do on here, just some ideas. Let's say that we're working on math, okay? So let's say we want them to color some yellow. So I'm going to grab my yellow. And it'll be easier if I use my highlighter, make it a little bit bigger. All right, so color some yellow. I want to erase that and do a fresh start, okay? So let's go in, color some yellow. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to color some pink. Okay, then my question is, how many are in all? So over here, I'm going to put that there were 3 yellow. I want to put another text box that there were 3 pink. And then how many do I have in all? Very simple. Okay, so our students are able to come in and do that. Now, if once again I don't think that they're able or I don't feel confident in their typing ability, they very well could have used the same pencil and just gone in and have written down their answers. All right. This way, instead of having them to draw, I just went in, I already put the tiles there, and I'm just going to have them to come and give me an answer based on what's already been provided on the screen. Another thing that you could do is to have them do some drag and drop, okay? Some drag and drop. So they would come in, the symbols are already there, and you just have them to come in and drag and drop the symbols in the correct place. Okay. So that did not require any typing. That did not require any drawing. It was simply a drag and drop that our students should be able to do in the K2 settings. And like I said, even beyond. Here we're doing some estimating. So how many trees are in the schoolyard? So based on the picture that you see, how many trees are there? Or let's say you're reading a story and you're painting a picture of the setting. How many trees do you think are in the schoolyard? Or it could be that they're looking outside of the classroom window. How many trees do you see? Estimate, and they write the number in, okay? Now let's go back and look for a moment. Let's go back and look at our teacher perspective, okay? And we notice that we are down here, so it shows us that our one little person is right there, okay? Our one little person is there. Okay, let's go back to our student viewpoint and do a few more graphing. So you may send them on the scavenger hunt into the schoolyard and have them to go out and graph some things. How many acorns? How many red leaves can you find? How many green leaves can you find? So a number of different things that you could do with the Pear Deck tool. Once again, another drag and drop. So drag the flag to our state. They just got to take the flag and drag it and drop it, okay? A quick and easy assessment, because you know that if you see a lot of flags over here, then we've got a problem because we don't live there, okay? So you would be able to quickly go in and say, I need to review, okay? We need to review because I want all students to understand that it should be here. So an easy way to gain an understanding of our students' knowledge. Once again, drawing a picture, labeling. So you can have them to come in and label and even add some specifics. So for this particular one, you're labeling the hour hand and you want it to be blue. You're labeling the minute hand red and you want the time displayed to be 1:30. Okay. So you could do labeling inside of Pear Deck. This is always a fun one, especially for our youngest children, going through and coloring the circles. So once again, they may want to get that pencil out. We want that big pencil and color the circles that have the letter A. All they have to do is click A. Okay, and then you're able to kind of go in and determine whether or not they were accurate. Another thing that you could do is have them to identify various things such as money, where they take and they're going to draw a line to match. So that's something that you could do, is matching inside of Pear Deck, drawing the line to connect the word to the item. And I think that was our last slide. So there are a number of things that you can do inside of Pear Deck to get a better understanding of what your students know. Okay, to get a better understanding of what your students know. Now, as you'll notice over here on the right, when you're building your Google Slides, there are some tools such as if you want it to be a text or multiple choice, a number. Do you want them to draw? Do you want it drag and drop? But what I like is that you can add audio to the slide. So if you need to read your students' directions on a slide, you can record and add audio to the slide for your students to be able to click and listen to the directions. Okay, so that is Pear Deck. Now, if we look back at our presentation, you'll notice that, like I said, this link takes you to the Google Store to be able to download or upload rather the add-on to your Chrome accounts. But the link here takes you to the presentation that I just went through. The template that we went through here, you can access that by clicking on that template for littles. So you have that and you can tweak it and make it your own. Have fun. Enjoy that with your students. Make it your own, okay? So we're going to look at some additional examples before we end using Google Slides. So let's go in and look at Google Slides. Now, you could create your own assessment in Google Slides without having to use Pear Deck. So for instance, this is just a normal Google slide, okay? And you could have the students to come in. Of course, you have to give them editing rights. I'm not going to do it on this presentation because this is our main presentation, but you can give them editing rights to where they move the red square around the picture of, and then they have to stand that out and they just take the red square and drag it, okay? So they're able to take it and drag it. For this one, you want them to put the red box over a matching shape. So of course you would have to give them a red box, allow them to take it and drag it and put it over the matching shape of the three here. So once again, these are easy templates that you can create simply in Google Slides and give a copy to each of your students and allow them to go through and complete the assignment. This one says your teacher is going to read 3 words. Put a star by the word that your teacher reads. So of course they have to have editing rights. If your teacher reads the word sit, the kids will sit on the books, sit. Then they come and put the star by the word sit. Another way is that you read a word and have them to type it, okay? Boy. The boy will sit at the desk, boy. All right, so they come in this empty space and simply type their word. Another one is to put a ton of images on the screen, and then there are some circles over here. I don't know if you could see them in the far left bottom of my screen, but there are some circles, and so the circles are there because the students on their own copy, they're going to take the circles and drag them over the images that display a cone, okay, a cone shape. So you would already have the circles there, meaning that they don't have to draw, they don't have to look for a circle, but they're already lined up on the side, and your students are just going to click and drag. You could also do a search, okay? So find the shapes. So you put some shapes here and ask them how many, have them to type their answers into the various boxes that you see on the screen. So they're going through and they're counting how many of each shape they see. So there are a number of things that you can do inside of Google Slides that make assessments doable for our young students. Another thing that you could do is give them a graph that already has some pre-filled information. Have them to go through, evaluate, and kind of review the information, and then answer and respond accordingly based on what's been provided to them. And that concludes today's presentation. I want to thank you so much for your time, for hanging in there with me. You can access this presentation at any time, meaning the slides, by going to the bit.ly link that's in the top right of the corner. Additionally, I've included my email down in the blue box. If you have questions or need assistance in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. I am here for you. Even if I'm not your specialist, should you have questions about this particular presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to be able to serve you so that you are of better service to your students. Additionally, feel free to share some things on Twitter and tag me so that I know you're out there in the Twitter universe. Our ATEM website is listed in the orange square, and then in the green square, I have our ATEM Twitter page. Once again, thank you so much. I've enjoyed creating this on-demand presentation for you, and I hope that as a result of you being here today, that you're able to commit to implementing at least one tool that was shared. Have a great day.